All right, so the last time I think I talked about this topic was like almost 4 years ago. I made an update on going all digital. It was a 6-month update. You know, I talked about going all digital and dumping all these cartridges and discs and all this stuff. I talked about it for a while. Once I finally did it, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. I didn't have to worry about carrying a bunch of games around with me. I didn't have to worry about switching cartridges in and out. I didn't really have to worry about any of the other stuff that, for me, and I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's just ridiculous that that's a thing, but it is a thing. It got rid of the barrier that was, you know, getting up, moving over to change the disc, or, you know, maybe if I wanted to change a game and my games are downstairs and I'm already in bed, like, you know, I'll play it another time, and then, you know, you just don't. It got rid of that barrier for me, and that was a big thing. You know, somebody with ADHD like I have, you know, attention is limited. You know, we go one way, we go the other way. There's a lot of stuff happening 100% of the time. So getting rid of that barrier was massive for me. Right now in 2025, going all digital, especially on the Switch 2, is a very different thing than what it used to be. We have so many other variables in all of this, one of them being the game key cards. Now that might be a reason you're watching this video. Maybe you've seen the game key cards. You know, you see these things, you're like, the whole point of physical was I wanted this thing on a cartridge so I can keep it. I'm not even getting that now. What's the point in buying the plastic if I don't even get the game with it? Why don't I just go digital? And you're not wrong there. You're definitely not wrong. You are losing some things with that. But in this video today, we're gonna talk about my experiences with going all digital. We're gonna talk about what it's like to go all digital right now in 2025, and if that is for you, or if maybe you should just stick to physical games. All right, really quickly before we get too far into the video, I wanna tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Savage Raven. Now, you know, if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, that Savage Raven makes my favorite cases, which are the Neo Grip, but lately it's been the Grip case. This is the one that I've been using since I got it in. I really love the way it protects the Switch. It's got options as far as what grips I can put on it. 3 different options that come in the box, and Savage Raven has so many other things for your Nintendo Switch 2, including grips, cases, batteries, chargers, and just about every other thing you might need for your Nintendo Switch 2. I'm gonna have a link down below where you can check out Savage Raven. All their new stuff that they just got up on their website is live. Make sure you go check it all out, and if you decide to pick any of it up, use code DRIPMedia at checkout. It'll give you 10% off your order. There's a bunch of new stuff over there, and you can still get this specific grip case. This is a launch edition, so they're going fast. They're not gonna be around forever. If you like the multicolored version, go get it now. Again, use code DRIPMedia at checkout for 10% off, and thank you to Savage Raven for sponsoring this video. All right, so I've already told you how this started for me. I didn't want to have to deal with the cartridges. I didn't want to take them everywhere. I didn't want to have to get up and go find the ones. You know, my kids use them too. It was too much of a hassle. Now, one problem we did run into, I'm gonna go a little bit further back here so I can explain what's happening now. One problem we did run into was the fact of having a digital game. I can't just hand that digital game to my children and let them play it as well. Now, my fix for that, I've made several videos on about how to share digital games. I'll link those at the end if you want to check those out. Those also need updated because there's more information about it now. But what I did is sign in on their Switch, and they could just play my games through my account on their Switch. I just turned cloud saves off on my account on their Switch so it didn't mess with my actual saves on my Switch. That worked out for a while. That worked out pretty good. You know, if one person was playing the game, all you have to do is put the Switch in airplane mode, and then someone else can hop on the game, and then when they put their Switch in airplane mode, I can hop on the same game. We can all be playing the same game at the same time. Not together. We can't play Mario Kart together that way, but we could play games separately at the same time. So there's a lot more to go with that, but now we have the virtual game cartridges, which actually, in some situations, are exactly what Nintendo should have done. But there are other situations where these are just awful. They're so stupid in some ways, and I want to talk about that, but I'll tell you about the ways they're good first. If you're somebody who has 2 Nintendo Switches, or it's just you and one other person, the digital game cartridge thing is actually really, really nice, especially if it's just you. Something about going all digital that a lot of people don't realize is if you have your account more than one place, or there's other situations where it's required to do, the Switch will actually make you check the internet to see if you can play the games. You're allowed to play the game. Now, that is kind of annoying, especially if you're out somewhere and let's say you're trying to play your game and you don't have internet. Yes, you can hook up to the Wi-Fi on your phone, just use it as a hotspot for a minute. You can totally do that. It's still very annoying. It's not something that I want to do every time. So having the virtual game cartridges has completely just made that not a thing. You just make sure all your virtual game cartridges are on there. It's basically the same as having the cartridge. You just don't have to switch them out. You don't have to worry about losing them. They're all just right there on the Switch. Now you can move those virtual game cartridges from one Switch to another by simply getting on another Switch and going to play the game. It will ask you, if you want to play this game, you got to get the virtual game cartridge, put it in, it will take it off of this Switch, but it will put it on that one. And you can put them back and forth. You can move them back and forth very easily. It's not a problem. The problem there is you can only hook up 2 Nintendo Switches at one time to do that. So if you have a third person, let's say in my situation, 2 of my children play the Switch. I also play the Switch. So what I was doing is I had both of them on the virtual game cartridge system, and they were just sharing them back and forth. My older child who plays the Switch doesn't play as much anymore. She's doing other stuff. My younger one still does. So I had them on it, and I was the one checking the internet at the time. Then the Switch 2 came out. Things changed significantly with that. With the Switch 2, I realized now you have to be hooked up to that virtual game cartridge system to even re-download games. So even if you go to the eShop and you're trying to download a game, it sends you right back to where you get the virtual game cartridges on your home screen to download it. You have to put it in there. So to download games on this system, I had to kick one of them off of the system that we had. You can only have 2 Switches, so I had to kick one of them off, download a bunch of games, then I can get back off of it and put them on and put it so this Switch checks the internet again. But again, that's kind of a pain. But with the older one not playing as much, I've just kind of kicked her off indefinitely until she wants to, play a game that's not already downloaded on her system. We can figure that out as we go. It is a pain that they lock it down to 2 systems. I feel like if they're gonna do this, they should have this at least to your family plan. The people in your family plan should be able to share all the games. I think it's very weird that they let you share the games, because that's another thing too I didn't mention. With the virtual game cartridges, they don't have to play on my account anymore. They can play these games as long as they have that virtual game cartridge loaded onto their system. They can play my game that I bought on their account. Any other way, you can't do that. So that is a good thing. That makes it like a physical game. It's just when you start adding more than 2 Switches into the mix, that's when things get weird. And they took away a lot of stuff too. So it makes it very weird to share digital games. Now, I'm gonna make an updated video on all of that. I feel like that this is not the video to go into detail on all of that. I'm gonna make an updated video on how to do that. It's still possible. They've just made it so much more difficult because they've taken away the ability to play the same digital game at the same time. There was a way to do that, and there was a way to do that Nintendo put on their website. They taught people how to do this. They took it off their website and just acts like they act like it doesn't exist anymore. You're not allowed to do that anymore. So things have definitely changed when it comes to digital games on the Nintendo Switch now. For me, I am still all digital. I love being all digital. Obviously, at this point, that means you're gonna have to buy some very expensive storage, but with the game key cards, you're basically gonna have to do that anyway. You have to download the games onto the system regardless, because they're not on the cartridge, because the cartridges, I guess, are not fast enough right now. So either way, you're gonna have to buy the storage. For me, that is a reason why going all digital right now in 2025 makes more sense, because of the way that they're doing physical games right now. Now, not Nintendo themselves. Nintendo's games are still all on the cartridge so far. We're only 4 months into the Nintendo Switch 2 at this point, but they're all on the cartridge. Third parties aren't putting them on the cartridge for several reasons. One is because the cartridges are too slow, I guess is what we're hearing. And also because they only have one size of the cartridge. It doesn't make sense for a company who's selling their game for $20 to pay some crazy amount of money for a 64 gigabyte cartridge when their game is like 5 gigabytes. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So the game key card makes it possible for them to have a cheaper option. And I guess the speed's not really there anyway. So you're buying storage anyway. in my opinion right now, with the way that everything is, digital is the way to go. And I know if you're watching this video, you're at least contemplating it. And I want to tell you this because there's another side of this that I know will probably be talked about in the comments, and it's the fact that at least with the game key cards, you can resell them. And that is true. You can resell those games. You can take those games to GameStop and get whatever you can get out of them. You can put them on Facebook Marketplace. You can do whatever. The game is resellable. That's great. You can go get sales in store, especially during like that Black Friday, holiday seasons, Mario Day. You do get the opportunity to have a lot more sales with physical games. So yeah, I mean, I think your digital library is probably going to end up costing you more in the long run. But if you're somebody who's already watching a video like this, contemplating if you should be going all digital or not, you've probably already thought about that. You're probably okay with that. But I mean, that is something to think about if you haven't. You are not going to be able to resell digital games. You're not going to be able to get used games, so you're not going to be able to get discounts like that. You are going to miss out on a lot of sales in stores, especially on older games. Now, the eShop has sales. They definitely do. I probably need to start covering more of those sales so you guys can come here to find out what digital games you should be buying at what times. I will do that, actually. We need to go back to that. We're going to do that. But the landscape has definitely changed. As far as going digital right now, I think for a lot of people, I think it makes more sense. I think right now it makes a lot more sense to just do digital with the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm 4 years in. I started, about halfway through the Switch's life doing all digital. I sold all my physical games except for the ones that my kids play a lot. We've got Animal Crossing. We've got a couple others here and there that they still use. And then I've got my Mario 35th anniversary physical. Obviously, I can't get that one digital, so I held on to that. But I think right now, it just makes so much more sense to be all digital. There is really no advantage unless you want to resell your games to buy physical at this point. You're not even getting the games on the cartridge anymore. And that was most people's big thing. That's collectors' big thing. They want the game on the cartridge. Jeeb actually had a really good idea about how to get all of that happening and make everybody happy. We talked about it on the phone right before this video, and we're gonna talk about it on the podcast tonight. So if you're seeing this video the day it comes out, we're talking more about this on the podcast tonight. There's a link down below where you can check out that channel. I will also link it right here. You can go over there, you can subscribe, become a member. That's a fun thing to do too. We do extra member stuff. We're gonna be doing more of that going forward, but I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of questions, a lot of comments on this one. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I will try to answer them as I can, but that is gonna do it for this one, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you in the next one.